How's it going, YouTube? New ban list in effect starting this Monday, and of course, 7 horrible, annoying cards have been forbidden. Lots of Floodgate are out of the game, which means that some decks might have a resurgence, some decks just got new support with the new structure deck, and some decks are going to be able to compete a little bit better without cards like Deep Barrier. We're going to rank the best decks of this new format starting this Monday, but before that, if you want to support the channel, make sure to check out the Black Dragon collection out of Sleeve Chief. If you like Red Eyes, if you like Joey Wheeler, this one is definitely for you. The deck box is actually stunning. Let us begin by discussing we are going to be ranking the best decks of the next format. Even though there's no new support except for like specifically branded, there are decks that could make a resurgence just because of the fact that some Floodgates are out of the game entirely. Let's start this off with Blue Eyes. The categories here are going to be best deck, strong, possibly solid, local chronicles. Best deck is going to be YCS winning decks. Strong is going to be decks that are able to top 8 consistently. Possibly solid are going to be the decks that maybe top 32, top 64 sometimes. And local chronicles are going to be the ones for you and me, baby. The ones we take to locals. Blue Eyes White Dragon, I've been actually seeing a lot of tops recently with this deck. Does this actually make sense with the Primite engine? Deep Barrier, maybe, again, opening up this deck a little bit. Protoss, Eschatos, whatever. I think this could be possibly solid, like 1 out of top 64. The Primite engine is strong. I don't want to put this in local chronicles because the deck has a good backbone, right? Not a lot of change in terms of the deck, but I think still this could possibly be solid. I think Malice is going to be one of the strong contenders up there in the strong category. This deck still has bones, right? This deck still has 20 non-engines, Dominus Impulse, really powerful cards. I think that with this and Lunalight, which we'll discuss in a second, you need to be considering these decks in your side deck, possibly, still. Right now, Yummy Mitsurugi, it kind of blends into one deck, right? But Malice and Lunalight are going to have to be addressed. Possibly Lancia on the side is still relevant because this deck did not lose any of its power, even though Dormus is at 1. But still, guys, this deck is still very scary. Now, one card that wasn't banned out of the Barrier statues is actually Barrier Statue of the Torrent, right? Barrier Statue of the Torrent, the water barrier statue, Mermail can still access it. Of course, there's no Toad anymore, but the deck, I would see it still as a threat, and I think it will actually push people more towards playing it as a way to say to lift up a middle finger towards Konami for not hitting the water barrier statue. I think this is one of my theories that for some reason this deck is going to see some resurgence. Pure Mitsurugi is going to be one of the strongest decks. I don't think it's going to be necessarily the best deck, specifically because of the fact that now Pure Mitsurugi is great. It has Dominus Impulse, it has a lot of room for non-engine, it's going to have Dimensional Fissure and Shifter, potentially. However, it did lose Fossil Dino, which made it very good and consistent. This is why it's not going to be up there with the best decks. That's going to be another deck possibly. But I think this is one of the top strongest decks still, even after the Forbidden and Limited list. I think Gem Knight is cute. I don't think like in a tournament setting it is actually viable. Of course, Deep Barrier being banned is somewhat of a buff to this deck, you can say. But I think still like the amount of inconsistency that this deck has, right? Especially if your opponent knows, it might be a 1 in 100, right? Maybe somebody can pull it off just because it's relatively strong, right? And no Deep Barrier, maybe that's a little bit of a buff. I think Draco Tail is going to be one of the strongest decks right now, possibly combined with Branded. I'm not putting them together just because Branded is such a small engine. It's not like actual like Branded, right? But it still has access to things like Sanctifier. It still has access to Branded Fusion. And possibly, other things like the Fall and the Virtuous. The fact that there's no Deep Barrier in the format is really good. and no FTKs as well, which the deck had a little bit of problem with. So I think Draco Tail is definitely, like Nash said, no more Draco fail, no more Draco lame. This deck is solid. Like, no D-Barrier, that's really, really good. I think that this is universally agreed upon as the best deck. Yummy, Mitsurugi, best of both worlds. Didn't lose anything in this ban list. Herald should have been banned. It wasn't. And this deck is going to continue to be seeing play. This is a shame with this emergency ban list that it did leave us with this best deck until at least Burst Protocol, or at least until January, where we might or might not get a new Forbidden Limited list. This is going to be the strongest deck. I don't think anybody's doubting that. Leave a comment below if you disagree, but I think it's really easy to explain that a deck that has two full tier 1 meta decks combined into one without impacting one or the other is just too strong. I think Canine Crystron is still strong. Without the Mjolnir lock. Definitely significantly worse just because of the fact that the deck has to jump through a lot of hoops. And the Canine cards, are they actually that good? I'm not really sure. But I think that the decks, it was really, really strong when it can Mjolnir lock. But now it can just play its own deck. Super Poly in the format, which is likely going to remain, still impacts this deck. And even maybe taking shots from Lancia, from Lunalight and Malice, right? So that's a possibility. I love Orcust, but I think Orcust is just possibly solid. Maybe one of the best rogue decks, right? I think definitely one of the best rogue decks. A lot of people have been playing Orcust Mitsurugi, even though there's no bridge, but still, like, Dark decks can run Impulse, can have access to both engines. Just very solid overall. DDD, I played against this today. This is a cute deck, probably Local Chronicles. One of the good ones, right? If it pops off, but still, like, a pet deck, definitely. And another pet deck is going to be Archmage. This deck is great. It's fun, but it's much, much better in Genesis. I think maybe Apophis can pull up another Miracle, potentially. Maybe somewhere around here. We'll see if it's a good meta pick. Is it really a trap deck? Is it really impacted by, you know, the Floodgate situation? I don't think so. Like, in terms of D-Barrier, sure, it could run D-Barrier, but I don't think it's the main, like, it's the main pull of the deck, right? So I think I'm just going to leave it at possibly solid for now. Yeah, one of the strongest decks here is going to be Lunalight for sure. Not impacted. Another card that dodged is Baguska, right? You're going to have to deal with this in your deck building still. This is going to be possibly one of the 4 best decks, right? Top 4 decks for sure. The problem is that even with Liger Dancer, this deck is susceptible to hand traps. This deck can be interrupted, and there is interaction with this deck. And Liger Dancer on its own is okay if this is what you have to deal with. The problem is, kind of starts with a second Liger Dancer, continues with the Baguska, and then the SP, right? Kind of an unbreakable board for sure, but this deck is going to continue being a problem, and it's kind of unfortunate that Baguska is still in the game after this ban list. Regenesis, probably a pretty good Local Chronicles deck, right? For sure. Branded, I would put it probably somewhere around here. Probably across these 3, right? The fact that the support is solid, new cards are solid, it's going to only get better, in my opinion. But the thing is, I think a lot of players are going to be playing it. That is the bias that is probably going to be created here. This deck in YCS Pittsburgh or like the next event is going to see a much bigger representation that it should have in this type of format, right? Just because there's hype, new cards, new structure deck. The deck is accessible to 100% of the people, right? Nothing is missing from the structure deck, basically. So a lot of people are going to be playing it, which means that a lot of people are also going to be succeeding with it. And another card that was missed on the balance is Sanctifier, or Edo, or DDD Vice King Requiem. This deck can still lock. Ryziel is only possibly solid. This deck really relied on the Floodgates, on the Protoss, the Ouroboros, the Fossil Dynas. Not anymore. Striker, another possibly solid deck. This deck is okay. I don't think it does too much, to be honest. This deck without D-Barrier is kind of rough as well. Yeah, Fire King, I don't know. Does it really matter? I don't think so. Same with White Forest. This deck is, maybe it's somewhere around here, right? White Forest, it's like okay. At the end of the day, it's probably not going to see any splash. I'm going to put Labyrinth at the... Yeah, I don't care. Labyrinth is going to go all the way to the end here. All the way to the end. This deck has nothing to rely on now. Cannot recycle D-Barrier anymore. No win condition. This deck sucks. Don't add me. Fiendsmith variant. Is it going to see some resurgence? Possibly, right? Possibly. Maybe we can get something going on here. We'll see. Soulful Cord Yummy and Yummy. I think Soulful Cord Yummy is just like, it's fine. Pure Yummy, it's going to be great. Is it better than Pure Dracotail? I don't think so, to be honest. I don't think so. Pure Yummy. Yummy Mitsurugi is all the way up here. But I guess, like, we'll see. I haven't seen Soulful Cord this much in action. We'll see. Probably now some people will pick it up a little bit more. I'm gonna put it all the way to the end here just because I don't really know. Is Memento gonna be doing some splashes? We'll have to see about that, to be honest, because the fact is, once again, deck is unhit. Nothing really changes. But the thing is, there's only like so much room at the top, right? There's a limited room at the top. So some of these decks will make it maybe 1 in 64. Like possibly Solid is like 1 in 64, right? Top 64 in a YCS. And then Vanquish, so I think probably remains strong to some extent, right? It's probably somewhere here, realistically, I would say, just because of the fact that, again, the deck still has chops. It could top, and it still has the whole K9 package behind it. And if Mitsu is still a thing, Mitsu Yummy being the single best deck dominating the format, then K9 is still going to be breathing through it, right? Maybe people are going to understand that, and K9 is going to start countering the Mitsu variants, and then we'll just see a resurgence of Pure Yummy or Yummy Soulful Cord. We'll have to see. Let me know if you agree with this in the comments below. Again, if you want to support the channel, check out the Black Dragon collection over on Sleeve Chief. We're going to have a lot of videos this week, so make sure you are subscribed, turn on notifications, and like this video. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.